Watch this before you chase your partner for validation. Seven powerful steps to stop being insecure in your relationship. Today we're diving deep into relationship killers that's sabotaging your connection and draining your confidence. If you've ever felt this gut-wrenching, insecurity, wondering if you're good enough in your relationship for your partner, then this is for you. I used to be very insecure in my relationships for 30 plus years, actually in all my relationships. And I've been always questioning if I was ever good enough for my partner, for other people, for my friendships. And it all started back in school. I was made fun of. I felt like less than. I always felt people were better than me. They made fun of me, the way I was dressed. I wore bigger hoodies and bigger jumpers because we didn't have that money and I was growing. So my mom, I think, was wanting to buy things I fit in a few years later. It makes sense. But as a kid, it still stung when people just picking you out of their group because you're wired, to fit in, to not be abandoned. And it's never really the word you remember or the exact actions often. It's more like the feeling of not fitting in, the feeling of not feeling you're ever good enough. And then I started obsessively comparing myself to other women, about their bodies. They're fitter, they're skinnier, they're prettier, they know what they're saying if they talk to boys. And you're always wondering, what can you do to pretend to be more like them? These thoughts followed me around when I was growing up, I was getting older, and also in relationships, of course. It really affected me. And I always thought I never can look like them because I had this belief it's not possible to change. I remember when I always felt insecure and I had this chat when my mom was saying, you can never look like your friend, like this specific girl. And she was trying to tell me you are normal. She was trying to tell me that everyone has their own unique bodies. And for me as a kid, I interpreted it. I took it the way that you can't change, you can't lose weight, you can't get fitter if you work out. Because at that time, there wasn't such thing as social media. You couldn't see results when people worked out or worked on themselves. So nowadays, I can see the results. I can see people, when you put in the effort, you can change. But at that time, I had no idea. And being told as a little kid, you will never look at her, made sense. That's exactly what you would tell a little kid. But for me, I took it in the way of, oh my God, I could never change. This is who I am. And nowadays, that's why it's so important for me always to work on my own thoughts, because my thoughts was my biggest enemy of feeling insecure and chasing validation and never feeling good enough. So yeah, I would obsessively compare myself to other people, to other women, and even my relationship, and convince myself everyone was prettier, everyone was smarter, I'm less than, and everyone is more successful as well. Stressing me out thinking about it now. So, and that deep-rooted belief really was quite terrifying. And eventually, I always think, eventually my partner will leave me. Eventually he'll find someone else, someone prettier, someone smarter. And if I ever grow up, he will then find someone younger than me. I was already jumping at 20 years ahead in future. I always had this what if, and please let me know in the comments on YouTube if you can relate to this, guys. If you've known me from a few years ago, I actually lost a lot of weight, but now suddenly over the last few years, I am now weighing my heaviest I've ever weighed. I'm 20 kilos. I've put on so much weight, literally. And that has been a hard journey, looking into the mirror and getting used to this different body image of myself. And you would think this is something, that could really destroy your self-esteem, right? But because I've become securely attached over the last years, this has changed everything. If I would have been the anxious attached me 4 years ago, this would have completely destroyed my self-esteem. I would have been so insecure. I would have probably never been even going outside the house. I would have had this battle every morning when I rotted away in my pajamas, and this would have impacted my relationship to my partner and everything else. Would have chased his validation and his reassurance, wanted him to tell me, okay, you're still pretty, you're still good enough, and all of these things. But now, because I've now become the securely attached person who I am now, because I've learned all of these tools to reassure myself, to know I'm still good enough the way I am, even if external things happening. Actually, I learned through this journey to be kinder to myself, to have understanding and compassion for myself. And this has been huge for my relationship as well, because we want to be with someone who's magnetic, who's confident. It's okay if someone, goes through a challenge and doesn't feel good. But if this goes on for months or years, this, has a huge impact on your relationship as well. You only can love the other person if they, to an extent, love themselves and accept themselves as well. So the biggest thing is what I've learned, that I no longer, tie my self-worth to my looks. And I no longer have to chase my partner to feel good. Because when the weight gain happened, I didn't run to my partner to, please tell me you're still in love with me, you still find me attractive, and please reassure me, please validate me, and all of these things. Sometimes, of course, I was vulnerable and I told him I really feel crap, and we kind of boosted ourselves up and motivated us. And it's really important to have each other's back, but that you don't overly rely on your partner to do that for you. Because previously, when I was actually attached, I made my partner the biggest and only source of how I felt and how, I showed up for myself. And I always thought, if my partner doesn't tell me that I'm good enough and attractive, then I couldn't feel good enough. I don't sit around wondering if my partner thinks I'm, still attractive, or if I'm ugly, or if I'm too heavy, too big now. I, work on my own belief, and it doesn't mean I want to stay this way. Definitely not. I'm doing everything in my power right now to, change the diet, move more, find exercises that fulfill me and excite me, and figure out what the hell is going on with my weight. But the thing is, it's the inner belief you have to work on as well. And you have to learn to really realize, what any emotion and feeling you want to feel, it's up to you to create them through, your thoughts, through actions. And I'm not desperately jumping into any crash diets anymore, to keep him happy or even myself. Instead of, I'm really trying to nourish my body because I want to. And really, this transformation didn't happen overnight. When I heat managed attachment style, it happened within 6 months, and that's not normal. I want to point this out. A lot of people, it does take a few years, but again, I didn't just test and tried things on my own. I went right away to a coach. I got weekly coaching. I was in a membership where there were a lot of other people who wanted to, work on different things in their life. And that's the thing. Either, you try it on your own and it just takes longer and you try lots of different things out, or you can do it additionally with coaching, where the coach points out blind spots in your journey. So which is just like the fast track to success. But just know it's possible. You can become securely attached. So what are kind of the hidden patterns that are ruining your relationship from my point of view? So when your partner makes maybe kind of casual comments about your appearance or things like this, that can really hit very hard. That's what I found. And a lot of clients who I coach one-on-one, they mentioned this. My partner said this and this, and now I feel insecure and I feel upset and I feel less than. Maybe you need to lose some weight, or maybe we should go on a diet, or we should join the gym again, or you should join the gym. And you immediately think like, oh my God, how dare he or how dare she, or they, and he doesn't support me. He doesn't find me attractive anymore. He's losing interest. He thinks I'm ugly. He's going to leave me. And I completely get that. But that's where we really want to understand, where does this come from? First of all, our partner can be a pain in the ass and can be very disrespectful. And we want to set our boundaries and want to learn how to express ourselves. But if you have an anxious attachment style, setting boundaries and expressing ourselves assertively can be very hard, because it's the fear of abandonment that comes to play here, right? We have, problems or struggle to be very direct and say, hey, you know what, this really hurts me if you say these things about myself, about my body, about this and this and that, because it makes me feel insecure. It makes me feel you don't accept me for who I am or how I look. And these things can be very hard because every time you think, okay, if I say this, maybe then he thinks I'm too much or he's going to leave me eventually. And all of this can happen subconsciously. But often communication is, again, one of the last tools I always teach in my courses or in one-on-one coaching, because your anxiety is the biggest issue. You can't communicate from a grounded and detached place if the anxiety is the thing that's in the way. Otherwise, you set boundaries from this very anxiety place where you might be setting boundaries from this very aggressive place suddenly, and then you feel very overwhelmed. When clients come to me and say, I've expressed myself and I set the boundaries and I stack up for myself, but they're not doing what I want to do. And the thing is, boundaries are not against anyone, is for your own protection and, out of self-love. But again, that's a bit of a different topic. And so how does your anxious attachment system works here? For example, let's say I've learned as a kid that space is being very painful. And this is where my anxious attachment kind of came from as well. When I wasn't in close proximity with my partner, that this kind of felt very painful for me, because I was always a very insecure, very shy girl. I always had to be very close to my mom and was very scared around strangers. So I was always hiding behind her back. So whenever I was, in distance with my mom, I was very scared. I was crying when my dad dropped me off at kindergarten. There was a very, I think, more traumatizing experience because I was too young to be dropped off at kindergarten, so I was too sensitive. So then later on they decided to drop me off a year later. That was much better for me. So I've learned as a kid I wanted to be close to my parents to feel safer, and later this then became a trigger for me. So the more I then now chased my partner's validation, the further I pushed him away, because that was also his trigger. He feels trapped the more close he is with people. And again, that is very typical for the partners who are in a relationship with an anxious attachment style. So again, for avoidant attached partners. So my partner then, for example, felt smothered, he felt trapped, and I only heard him saying all the time, "Oh, you can't tell me what to do, I'm not your dog." And I was like, what? Why are you saying these things? I don't tell you what to do. I'm not treating you like a dog. And this theme happened for our first few months. And I was like, can you please tell me specifically what I'm doing that you say I treat you like a dog? And now I'm kind of laughing about it because we completely healed that part in our relationship, and he doesn't feel like this anymore. And I think it's hilarious now because I know exactly what happened. This was our anxious avoidant relationship dynamic playing up, that he felt smothered, that he felt like I was kind of coming too close and saying things like from a more like criticizing kind of way. Like even if I said it in my way, very nice and very like, hey, suggestive, more like, hey, could you move your shoes a little bit over there so I don't fall over them? And he took it as criticism. He felt very like, hey, how dare you tell me what to do in my own room? But anyway, so like they can get very defensive when it comes to you're stepping on their toes because they're fearing they're losing independence, while you really want to be close to them. And then you kind of chase them when it comes to reassurance, validation. You want to be around them, and everything you do triggers then their core wounds. So in short, the more I chase my partner for validation, the more I push them away, and the more he felt triggered. So if you have an avoidant attached partner, they need space to feel safe. You need closeness to feel safe. And yes, this is called the anxious avoidant trap, or the anxious avoidance cycle, and I will go over into more videos in the future of this, because I can go very specific with lots of different examples and how to really break this. But now I want to go into the 7 steps to break your insecure patterns based on a trigger. I want to show you how to really neutralize this pattern, this feeling of insecurity, based on my own personal examples and experiences, and based on what really worked for my clients too. So let's get into this. So step 1 is identifying the trigger. When you feel insecure, pause, breathe, name exactly what is making you feel insecure. You can even write it down. Let's say your partner has liked a girl's Instagram picture. So name it, name the feeling. I feel insecure. A part of me feels insecure. And then this creates space between the trigger and your thoughts, because you want to notice your thoughts. And maybe you want to also notice, like, on the scale from like 1 to 10, where is this emotional pain sitting? Is it like a 5? Is it like an 8? Like, how strong is this pain actually? Just to like, is it called gauge, to rate the scale. And then step 2, to create even more of like a distance from this pattern, label the pattern. You could say, this is my anxious attachment speaking. This is me jumping to conclusions already. If you have a thought, okay, my partner doesn't like me, my partner fancies this woman more, my partner is more into her than he is into me, you could say, conclusions, this is me spiraling into the worst case scenarios. This is me focusing on the negatives. This is me, distorting the truth. This is my anxious brain making up stories. And this separates you from the actual situation, from the thought. You can even like pull out it in front of you to just notice it. When you recognize that your need for constant validation or reassurance is just the pattern you've created in your childhood, especially, and it's not really this accurate think of your relationship on the present moment, everything shifts. And that's why, again, you also want to do the third step here, and that is connecting to the past. You're going to connect the trigger to the past and disconnect from the present moment. Ask yourself, when did I first learn I wasn't holy enough? When did I first learn about this pattern? What is the similarity here from this pattern to my past? When did this first show up in my life? For me, it was, when I was bullied in school, my very, very first pattern, when I started overthinking and feeling insecure in my life and relationships. 2nd or 3rd or 4th grade, I had to read out a book out loud, and I was so scared of making a mistake. And that was one of my first signs that I always felt like I wasn't good enough. So really become aware of your patterns. Step 4. Challenge your stories you have identified by now, hopefully. And you can write down all of your thoughts. Again, what beliefs are running below the surface. You have thoughts here, and then beliefs are underneath, the thing that are really driving your actions. Like, if I'm not perfect, I'll be abandoned. I need constant validation to feel secure and to feel good enough. If I'm not good enough, my partner will leave me. If I don't have the perfect body, my partner will find someone who has it. Things like this. And then you want to challenge these beliefs and stories. Is this really true? How do I know this is true? How can I cope even if I don't have this perfect body? How do I know I will be okay anyways? Can I find 10 pieces of evidence against this old limiting belief? Journal these down. Has my partner proven their love in my past even when I wasn't perfect? Has he showed up in different ways that I can't see right now? What evidence, really contradicts this limiting belief? Find this evidence. And if you haven't found anything, be open for this during the next day, the next weeks, and then rate your score from 1 till 10. Where are you now? Has anything dropped so far? Step 5, you want to reframe your stories, reframe your thoughts, replace your old stories with something new, empowering, something you can believe. Like, my worth isn't tied to someone's actions, like someone's words. You don't need someone's approval, to feel good enough. Your worth isn't tied to a specific look, to your appearance. You are lovable exactly the way you are right now. You don't have to change. And it doesn't mean you can't be inspired and you can't work out towards a goal, but it starts off, first of all, believing you're already good enough. Two things can be true at the same time. And just because someone makes a comment doesn't mean you have to feel anything about it. And people can say what they want. It's your thoughts that create your feelings. But I know that's hard. I had to learn this after a while as well for myself, to not let other people's word dictate how I feel. And then the 6th step is anchor positive emotions for yourself. Like, this is about visualization. Close your eyes, breathe deeply. Remember a moment when you felt completely secure in your relationship, when you felt on top of the world, really confident in yourself. You felt completely lovable and worthy. You felt like everything is possible for you and you didn't have to chase anyone. Remember this feeling and access this again. And this emotional anchor becomes your safe harbor for yourself. If you ever feel this emotion again, or if you just felt it right now, you can just put the hand on your heart every time when you feel this. When you feel flooded of like security and confidence, you charge up this emotion. So next time when you feel insecure, you then put the hand on your heart, or you do this specific movement that reminds your body, hey, you know what? Remember last time when we felt so secure, so confident? Let's just access this emotion right now. This is how you can anchor yourself to feel secure. This is just a tiny little introduction of this, how this works. 7. Now it's time to take aligned actions with your new beliefs. What does this version of you do now? Well, maybe you want to speak out to your partner about something. Let's say you want to say, hey, when you mentioned my weight, I felt actually very insecure. I know that's my pattern and I want to work through this, but I really appreciate if we could talk about my health in a different way. I don't want to talk about my weight at all. And it wasn't until I stopped chasing reassurance until things really changed for me. And no amount of validation from my partner could really make me feel whole in the end. So you can really communicate with your partner and it's helpful, but in the end, it really comes from within you. Trust me, I've tried everything. So what I've discovered really changed my life. The more you chase, the further you push them away. Score yourself on a 1 to 10. Maybe you're now at a 5 or 4 or 3. The more times you repeat this entire process, the more you will neutralize this trigger more and more. But now it's important to really take action on this. Don't just listen to YouTube videos or podcasts. You really want to apply these steps if you want to really become less insecure and more secure in your relationships. So if you like this so far, please give me a 5-star rating wherever you're listening from. Or if you're on YouTube, please follow me. Please like this video and I would love to, read your comments of what was really helpful for you so far. And once you really learn to give yourself the reassurance to self-soothe, is unlocking a new level in your relationship and really feeling secure from within you. And you stop feeling the need to chase and to prove you are good enough for other people, because you can feel it deep down in your bones that you are enough. And now when I feel, insecure, sometimes I just, take a deep breath. I remind myself of all the pieces of evidence that I've collected already that I'm enough, and I have all of the tools I already built in my toolkit to remind myself that, and I know you can do it too. And also, once you start believing in yourself and take actions, everything changes in your life, not just in your relationship. I know so many of us, when you start this work so that our partner comes more to us and to re-attract our partner, but in the end we realize how much it really impacts all areas of our life. And imagine a relationship where you don't need to be with your partner because he or she or they fulfill your cup. They are just great addition on top of it. Your worth isn't tied to their opinion or their mood swings, and you can trust yourself and your partner in your relationship, and you can really receive their feedback and their little words, even if they don't choose them very wisely, without jumping to the worst case scenarios or without spiraling. And that is possible for you too. And feeling worthy is your birthright. If you want to go deeper, if you want to heal your anxious attachment style, I have a 4-month and an 8-month container. Jump on the free call with me and we can discuss everything. We can check in if you are a good match to get any questions answered. I have an Anxiously Secure course coming up soon. Jump on the waitlist, and I have lots of free resources, by the way, about stop worrying, what to do if your partner doesn't text you back, the self-esteem toolkit. Don't miss out on that. Remember, change in your relationship starts with you, thought by thought, action by action, and now episode by episode. And remember, you are carrying these wounds since childhood, but you don't have to carry them forever. because you can rewire your mind. You can change if you want to, with the right tools and with the right support. So I'm here for you. I'm so excited to support you on your journey, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye, Jula.